Ever since I finished my Shaman King series, there's been a huge gaping hole in my heart, around the bottom where the dick used to be, and I've missed being able to get a few hate boners over that crappy piece of animation, if you could even call it that. That's a joke. I didn't watch 2021 to hate on it as much as a lot of people who didn't like those videos would want you to believe, but I'm getting off topic. Point is, I miss making Shaman King videos, so I decided to give the manga a second chance and reread it. I think I mentioned in one of my earlier videos that I didn't enjoy the manga and that I dropped it around chapter 70 or so, and going back into it, I thought that might have been because of other factors, like the fact that I specifically picked it up during the making of this video here to prove a point about why mediums like anime and manga matter when looking at storytelling. It gave me a much more bitter perception of the product since I was only reading it to shut up all the damn manga readers who were flooding into my comment sections, and I'm only referring to the people who were really rude to me. If you left a comment talking about the manga, chances are I was probably fine with you, you know, unless you called me a retard or an elitist or made fun of me in some way. By the way, for this video, I've only read the first 2 volumes of the manga, and I'm aware of the fact that it gets better later on, and I'm looking forward to experiencing what everyone else who read the manga experienced, but I'm only talking about the first 2 volumes, and I thought it'd be fitting to do it this way because in my first Shaman King video, I covered episode 3 of the reboot, so yeah. My negative perception of the manga definitely played a part in my disinterest in it since I found myself enjoying the first chapter a lot more than I previously did, but chapters 2 and onward is where I start to have problems with it. A lot of the time, the manga seems to only do the bare minimum when trying to tell a story. That's why I think it's mediocre. I don't think the original Shaman King has the strongest start either. The first 2 episodes were charming, but they were a bit of a slow burner. These 2 episodes didn't really do too much differently from their manga counterparts either, but I don't know, it feels more impactful than in the manga. The flashback showing Mosuke and Amidamaru's past just feels better to me. I think the imagery used is more evocative, the lighting and atmosphere is right for the tone the scene is going for, and the switch from a quiet and dejected tone to an upbeat, triumphant one after Yo reveals what he can do for Mosuke is just awesome. I also like the fact that the 2001 anime added in the detail that Yo was content with letting Amidamaru pass on. It's something that makes their bond feel stronger and serves as a nice moment when Amidamaru decides to come back and save him from Ryu. Instead, the manga just has Amidamaru join up with Yo after he forged the Harasame, which is fine, but it feels a bit sudden with just how quickly he decides to work with Yo and Manta summing up everything at the end. Manta does this at the end of the second episode of the anime too, but that feels a lot more justified and complete given how things actually played out in that episode. I noticed the next few chapters also had this problem. Chapters 3 through 5 all go through more episodic stories. Neither of the adaptations actually covered these chapters, although to be fair, they didn't need to. I will say that the 2021 version probably would have benefited from adapting chapter 4, as it shows Manta's love for martial arts, but again, the 2021 version didn't need to do this. They could have established it in a different way, which would have worked fine. Anyways, as I said before, each of these chapters are all self-contained stories that deal with a different issue. A sign keeps falling because a ghost is haunting it, a delinquent boxer wants to fight with his deceased teacher again, a building catches on fire and Yo goes in to save people. Something about these chapters feels incomplete, like chapter 3 for example. Yo finds out that the spirit haunting the sign just wants to paint the sign real bad and cover it with this paint, and eventually Yo reminds him about what he actually is, and then he stops being evil and helps Yo paint the sign so he can pass on, but they don't actually show him passing on, they just have Manta wrap up everything in the panel that Yo is painting in. I feel like this would have benefited from showing some kind of end result. As it is now, I just feel unsatisfied and weird. I don't think this is a bad chapter. If anything, I think this is one of the better ones of the series. The fact that Yo uses the abilities of ghosts just hanging around to get by in school is really funny in a pretty morbid way. One of the ghosts he uses is a student who committed suicide after being bullied, and you know, while it's a bit weird that Yo isn't trying to help him pass on like he did with Amidamaru or this guy. Actually, yeah, why the fuck didn't he do that? I don't really care though, it's just a passing thought, and I like the way that Manta becomes more open-minded to different kinds of thinking, even if it is fucking Jeffrey Epstein levels of shady. And then there's chapter 4. Unlike the previous chapter, the solution to the problem is made clear from the beginning. This guy had a teacher who died and now he's a punk again, so we gotta beat the shit out of him with his teacher. But Yo just finds his teacher's soul off screen, or panel. Whatever. Where the fuck did he find him? How did he get him? There's no connecting dot like there was in chapter 3. There's nothing. It feels forced because of that. It's like when someone doesn't show their work. They probably cheated. And again, there's no final panel or anything showing how the delinquent kid is doing after everything that happened. Yo just doesn't give a fuck. Chapter 5 is okay, it's whatever, but it leads to our first important story moment. It introduces us to Ren and establishes him as a threat. But when we get to his actual chapter and fight between him and Yo, I just don't care. They try to make him seem cruel and evil when in in reality, nothing he's doing is that bad. Like, this group of big, fat, and tall-ass dudes start ganging up on this kid, and for what? Because he kicked their car? Why are you trying to beat the shit out of a little middle schooler for kicking your car? It doesn't even look like he did any damage. Who cares? You know, he beats them up out of self-defense, and then this one guy gets in the car and tries to run him over, which is such an extreme reaction, and I honestly agree with what Ren does here. He slices the damn thing in half and tries to kill the guy. This isn't cruel, this is just protecting the innocent. Imagine how many kids he'll save by getting rid of this guy who's clearly mentally unstable and has anger issues. But I guess trying to kill someone just always makes you cruel and unforgiving, you know, completely ignoring the fact that they also tried to kill him, but it doesn't matter because they're not being portrayed as evil. You know why Ren slices a truck in half in the anime? He's the one who's in the wrong here. He started walking across the street when he wasn't supposed to, and it's because of that he's about to get run over. No over-the-top reactions, no strange and sudden jumps in extremity. It's organic and something that anyone can imagine happening. Ren's actually the one with the extreme reaction and almost kills this poor guy who's just doing his job. That's a villain, that's someone who needs to be stopped. And the scene of Ren picking a fight with a bunch of thugs is still present in the anime, but there was something prior to that scene that actually made me see Ren as a legitimate threat. Plus, the random thugs in the manga were replaced with Ryu and his gang, who have already kind of been humanized and given qualities that people might find endearing. That's another thing the anime does better than the manga. They use their resources effectively. By replacing these nameless thugs with a group we're already familiar with, they can get across the same point the manga was trying to, but more effectively. It also serves more than one purpose, as it redeems Ryu in a quick yet funny, fitting, and satisfying manner. On top of that, I just love the direction in this episode. This cool as fuck red sky, the changes between Yo's and Ren's faces showing the differences in how they first perceive each other, the way this light changes from red to green and builds tension as they walk over to each other, this awesome whooshy whoosh and flashes that zoom in each time. This show knows how to sell the presence of a fucking villain. That's something that the 2001 version of Shaman King has in spades. Suspense, tension, and an actual solid and functional foundation for a fight. These interactions before the actual fight are great build-up. They're suspenseful. The Shaman King manga so far doesn't seem to have anything like this. It's the famous bomb under the table scenario. As Hitchcock the man himself said, "We are now having a very innocent little chat. Let us suppose that there is a bomb underneath this table between us, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's an explosion. The public is surprised, but prior to the surprise, it has seen an absolutely ordinary scene of no special consequence. Now let us take a suspenseful situation. The bomb is underneath the table, and the public knows it, probably because they have seen the anarchists place it there. The public is aware that the bomb is going to explode at 1 o'clock, and there's a clock in the decor. The public can see that it is a 1:45. In these conditions, this innocuous conversation becomes fascinating because the public is participating in the scene. The audience is longing to warn the characters on the screen, you shouldn't be talking about such trivial matters, there's a bomb beneath you and it's about to explode. In the first case, we have given the public 15 seconds of surprise at the moment of the explosion. In the second, we have provided them with 15 minutes of suspense. I said before that it feels like the manga is always doing the bare minimum when trying to tell a story, and here's an example of what I'm talking about. The manga never establishes Ren's presence with these suspenseful build-up scenes like in the anime. Read this chapter and then watch the 2000s anime afterwards. The difference in tone and atmosphere is night and day. They don't even seem like the same story. All the manga does is give us a panel of Ren looking at Yo from afar, which gets the job done, but that's all it does. It gives you this cheap feeling of suspense, but never really uses it. Let's say two characters are having an innocent little chat. Nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, boom! The villain shows up and the hero starts fighting him immediately. The audience is interested, but prior to this interest, it has seen an absolutely ordinary scene of no special consequence. Now compare that to when there's build-up and tension beforehand, and the audience knows it, probably because the hero and villain set themselves up for a confrontation by the end of the episode. The audience can see the progress bar of the video and can speculate when this confrontation will happen. In these conditions, these innocuous scenes of build-up become fascinating because the audience is participating in these scenes. It's just more fun this way. You've never heard of a huge climactic battle just happening out of nowhere, and when we get into the actual fight, it's alright I guess, but I'm not given as much reason to care as I am in the anime. The fight is split into two stages, one where Ren strikes down Yo and seemingly wins the fight, and the other where Yo gets back up and pulls off the victory. Instead of giving us one fight with two stages, the anime splits them up into two separate fights. Again, I like this change. Having Ren legitimately win one of the bouts between them cements him as a genuine threat. The fact that the fight had to be interrupted by Ryu and Yo had to be brought to the hospital makes Ren look much more intimidating. When Anna shows up and tells Yo that he probably won't be able to beat Ren if he attacked again, I believe that shit. Speaking of Anna, when I first made my Shaman King video, a lot of people said that they found the 2001 version of Anna to be abusive, but the manga version of her is abusive too, except in the manga she actually resorts to physical violence multiple times. The only reason that anybody could think Anna wasn't abusive in the manga is that they don't actually show how she trains Yo on screen, but it doesn't need to. In the 2001 anime, they represent Yo's training with lifting weights or jogging, and as a side note, I really like this training montage. It was energetic and it established several things about daily life for these three characters in such a short amount of time. Back on topic, in the manga, when Yo comes into class, he's covered in bandages and bruises, and what the fuck is this? What she does to Yo in the manga is way worse than anything she did to him in the 2000s anime, and she's completely lacking in any of the compassion she showed in the original anime. I don't get it. Going back to the fact that the manga never shows Yo's training, it feels forced when Anna says, "Man, looks like the training's really paid off." That's not gonna feel earned if I don't actually see Yo's progress myself. I guess it doesn't matter so much as the actual fight that she said this in, though. I hated how the 2021 anime handled this fight, but I don't like it that much here either. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the reason why this fight starts. It's a lot less jarring than the 2021 anime because the manga actually introduced us to June beforehand, which at least doesn't make me feel like I missed something when she shows up to attack the main characters. However, like the fight with Ren, this is a prime example of the bomb under the table, as well as the manga only doing the bare minimum. You see, there's a reason for June to send the main characters some tickets for an old as fuck film and then hope to God that they actually go so she can show them the power of her zombie warrior and then ambush them afterward. In her mind, there is a logical benefit to doing something like this. Showing them her power might intimidate them and give June what she wants without having to resort to a fight. But again, from a dramatic standpoint, why the fuck would anybody care about something that just happens? The reason why the 2000s anime added in those scenes of June tailing Yo was to add suspense and tension, something that hints towards something greater happening in the near future. So when you see her outside of the movie theater, you go, oh shit, something's about to go down. It also helps that her plan in this version isn't stupid as shit and actually resembles something that a normal person might come up with. You know why I cared about the Pylong twist in the anime? Because there was setup for it. Manta idolized the guy and geeked out about him frequently. Anna's interest in the story showed that something was up and that you should keep that in mind for later. And whether or not you realize it, seeing him in the movie creates this sense of foreboding when combined with the scene of June waiting outside. And then it gets revealed and I'm like, oh shit, that's what they were doing. You see, bomb under the table. The manga doesn't have this. To make it seem like this twist didn't completely come out of nowhere, the manga just has the characters watch the movie and then a few panels later, June drops the reveal. And who cares? You won't even have time to register Pylong as an actual character in your memory before the shit even comes up again. You see, bare minimum. There's a version of this that doesn't have to change much. June's plan itself isn't necessarily the issue, it's how they present it. If they had placed more importance on these tickets that suspiciously showed up in the mail, as opposed to just mentioning them in an offhand comment, there would be some kind of tension. It would also put you into Anna's state of mind. It's weird that Anna just went with Yo to slack off in some movie theater instead of whipping his ass into shape. It's out of character for her. They justify this by having her say that she only went because the tickets were free, but come the fuck on. She's trying to make her fiance this omnipotent being with the power to do anything she wants. Why does she give a shit about free tickets? If the manga had actually shown her reaction to the tickets randomly showing up in her mailbox or whatever, this could draw suspicion to June's plans, and recontextualize Anna's thought process when deciding to go to the movies. This is a minor thing, but look at a scene like Manta running away to get Yo his sword. In the manga, it's completely unambiguous that he's trying to help Yo, not save himself. It's revealed only a few panels after that he's running to get a sword. There's no tension here, but in the anime, Manta runs off at the end of an episode, which means this shot right here was a freaking cliffhanger. Imagine watching this shit weekly if it was aired weekly back in the day. I don't fucking know. You'd have to wait an entire week to find out what happened next. Of course, in the very next episode, it's revealed what he's actually doing. But you know, at least this is something. I also love how they use Ryu in this anime. It felt really sudden when the 2021 anime tried to redeem him, but here he's just the best. There's nothing else I can really say about this fight. It's a lot more comprehensible than the 2021 anime because the fight was actually drawn for a manga, and I can appreciate that, I guess. But there's nothing else I can say about it. I'm going to continue to read the manga, but for right now, it's pretty mediocre. That's all, and I'll be going now.